ounces. First 12 ounces, yeah. First 12 ounces. First 12 ounces, yeah. Y'all better listen up. This sports talking tough. So if you got a cup, go on and raise it up. I'll raise one with you as we talk about the sports. It's raining stats and rumors. Let us give you the report. This is First 12 ounces. First 12 ounces, yeah. First 12 ounces. First 12 ounces, yeah.
Yo, what's up? Hey, episode 2. A lot of shit that happened since the last time we talked. It's been a whirlwind in Baton Rouge and Gainesville and Oxford. Is LSU going to hire Lane Kiffin? What's going on? I mean, this thing's been a madhouse. Is it a done deal to Florida? You know, you're hearing it's a done deal to LSU. Ole Miss fans claiming that Lane is locked in Ole Miss. I don't know what's going to happen. LSU's got a game this weekend against Western Kentucky. There's a lot of smoke going on, all the rumors everywhere. Everybody who's in the know's got something to say. We'll get into all of it. And if we have time, we'll talk about the Garrett Nussmeier, Michael Van Buren thing. It looks like Van Buren's probably going to start from here on out. We'll get into a little bit more of that later if we got time at the back end of this thing. But right now, let's talk about what everybody wants to talk about. It's Lane Kiffin. Right, it's Lane Kiffin, and I guess from an LSU perspective, I don't know what this is on my shirt, but it's driving me crazy. Got it. Everybody wants to know, we had to get that off the shirt. You can't have stuff like that just hanging on the shirt while you're trying to record in front of all these beautiful people. But is Lane Kiffin coming to LSU? And if not, does LSU have a backup plan? And we're going to start with Lane Kiffin. I have no idea what Lane Kiffin's going to do. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I got inside info. I do hear some things. But here's the thing with these coaching searches. And you got to give everybody grace with this. Not just myself, but anybody you listen to on any side of this. There are people that are in the know, but they know the information in that moment. And the thing is these things change by the second, essentially. I mean, it's an hour-to-hour, decision thing. You might hear something in the morning when you wake up and having coffee from a trusted person that you really believe is the case, and then things change, and that's no longer even in play, right? I think what we do know, if we backtrack to last Thursday when we talked, what we knew last Thursday was that Florida was really in the mix. Lane was still an option, LSU. I think I had actually said that I didn't think he was going to end up. I actually thought he was going to stay at Ole Miss. And I kind of believed that through the weekend. And then more stuff came out. So what we kind of know apparently was that the Lane to Florida thing got a real close. LSU figured it out, got themselves in order, got the money right, got the off the field. They got the key word we talked about last week, which was alignment. Seems like they kind of figured that aspect out of this whole thing. And LSU got in the mix. And that started to happen Sunday night, Monday morning, and then throughout the week this week. It's just been a whirlwind of information. Like I said, Florida people are out here. I'm getting text messages from Florida people saying it's a done deal, $15 million a year, $30 million in NIL contracts. But I got texted that on Monday morning. That ain't happened. Right? I mean, we were told all weekend this thing was done deal to Florida. My personal opinion, and this is I don't know this for a fact. My personal opinion is I think LSU's overtaken Florida in it. I think Florida got ahead of themselves. I think Florida was first to the punch. And I think by being first to the punch, they thought that they were going to be the only punch. And then a different fighter stepped in the ring in LSU. The dudes from Baton Rouge showed up in the mix and started throwing punches. And all of a sudden, this fight changed. Right now, look, I don't know what he's going to do. I would love for him to be the LSU head coach. I think right now this thing's between LSU and Ole Miss. Again, I could be wrong. This thing's going up. You might listen to this, go to bed, we wake up, and the deal's done with Florida. We don't know. Again, these things change nonstop. But as we sit here today and talk, we know on Friday, November 21st, which is tomorrow, Lane Kiffin and Keith Carter have a meeting. From my understanding, that meeting is going to be to discuss their future and how they're going to deal with rev share, NIL, and how that's going to look going forward. Essentially, how I interpret that is This is Ole Miss making a real pitch at him. This is Ole Miss collecting the information that they've gotten from their sources and whatnot about what LSU and what Florida have done. Why is it intriguing him so much? And they're going to make a pitch. And they're going to say, we can counter that. We can do better than that, etc. Whatever they say. But I take this as they're going to talk about NIL money and how to make the non-contract money make sense to Lane. It's going to be their pitch to him. Because I do think one thing we are learning is, like, I don't think the salary is the big decision maker here. And look, there's a lot of reasons for that, I think. Or there's a lot of people saying they know the reason for that. The common one is, well, Lane came out and said he didn't care about money. Here's why I don't think it plays a huge factor. I think all three schools are going to offer right around the same on the contract number. I think this thing's going to be between $13.5 and $15 million, even if up to $16 million. And here's the reality. I truly believe all three schools, if it came down to that, they would make the number happen in that range. So I don't think the salary number makes a difference. I think how you're going to allocate this new NIL and the rev share, because remember, it has to go to a clearinghouse now. This is not NIL how it's been. It's a little bit more in a cage. Now, look, how they're going to control the clearinghouse and what's a real NIL, that's a different discussion for a different day. But with that having a little bit more barricades on it, I think the important thing to Lane is what school has the best plan, the most funding, and can articulate it to me the best, where I feel comfortable that I'm going to get the best roster possible for my team to compete for championships. I think that's what matters to Lane Kiffin, is competing for national championships. And what he views as important, and I agree wholeheartedly, is how can you assemble a roster as in this ever-changing NIL landscape? Because the reality is the rev share did put a hitch in this thing a little bit. I just got a text. I'm recording on the phone. I can't even read it. The text very well could be some breaking news. I don't know. But what I do know is I do think that that's the key factor. And look, here's one thing about Lane. Whoever he does pick, the other two places are going to despise him unless it works out. And look, Lane's an interesting cat too, man. That's why I think some of this is just like, I do think he only cares about winning football games. I think he has fun on Twitter, the trolling. You know, he's cryptic. He pokes fun. The reality is he's a football guy, and I think you can hear that when he talks to the media. He's not great at talking to the media. He might be great at talking to the media, but he chooses not to be. That might be like a tactic that he has. I don't know. I've only ever really observed Lane Kiffin from afar when he's on the Pat McAfee show or clips on Twitter, etc., whatever it may be. But Lane is a unique personality that's going to make decisions not how you. I don't think he's a very emotional guy when it comes to decision making in terms of coaching football. The reason I bring that up is the thing everybody's talking about right now was wife's ex-wife, wife. I'm not Dr. Phil. I'm not going to get into that. Her dad played football at Florida, so that's an emotional tie. He's got professional ties in Baton Rouge with Sexton. There's a ton of ties to Baton Rouge. You got Saban, all these things. I think he's truly going to view this decision, who can assemble me the best roster, who can lay that out on paper. I am confident that LSU is going to go down swinging in this thing. They're going to go for the knockout punch. LSU is not going to tiptoe. LSU is going to give it everything they have. They are going to put their best 2 feet forward. LSU has circled in on him, and they are going to go for broke. That's awesome if you win. And I'm excited about it, and I love that about LSU. That's kind of been a problem with LSU, in my opinion, since this whole new world started with paying players and whatnot, is it's felt like LSU kind of held on to the thing of, we are in Louisiana, we can just get guys and kind of have tiptoed around it and then throttle down a little bit, but never run the rev limiter up, and just kind of felt like they were doing the hokey pokey with this thing, where it's like, we're all in, we might not, it feels like LSU has made the decision, we are going to go all in. We are going to spend money at a high clip. We are going to do whatever is necessary to get a top 5 roster in the sport on a year in and year out basis. And we want Lane Kiffin to lead the charge. That may not happen, though. That's the reality. It very well may, though. That's the other thing. Like, again, I don't know. I get texts that are like, look out. And then like an hour later, it's like something changed. Something changed, not for the worse, but it pumped the brakes a little bit, right? But when you start talking about LSU going all in on Lane, I think the more important thing to remember is LSU is going all in on football and how to build rosters now. They clearly had to solve what does this mean. And the worst case scenario is you don't get Lane and you have to get somebody else. You already know, how do we go about this? We already have the plan laid out. We already had to make the plan. Do I think LSU has a backup plan? Yeah, I do. I think it's a short list, but I think they've got a backup plan. And look, you're going to get a bunch of names from Kenny Dillingham to Eli Drinkwitz, which for some reason everybody hates the idea of Eli Drinkwitz. I think Drink's been a great coach. I don't know how great of a fit he would be at Baton Rouge, but for what it's worth, I do think Drink is a great coach who would work his ass off. And I think that's important. I think Sumrall is going to always be in the mix until he takes one of these SEC jobs, whether that's going to be Auburn or, whatever, Ole Miss, or if he decides, but he'll be in the mix. I don't think that ultimately happens. Frank Wilson is obviously going to be in the mix. He's currently the interim head coach. He has head coaching experience. Now, whether or not his head coaching experience in the past was terrific is maybe not debatable, but it's a little bit more complex than he was a bad head coach. I think Eric Morris at North Texas is going to be a guy that, if this thing goes south with Lane, that you're going to start to hear his name probably a little bit more. I think there's some coordinators out there, the Oregon OC, stuff like that I do think could jump in this mix if the Lane thing happens. But I truly believe LSU is going to go for broke with Lane while still keeping feelers out on the back end. But it's full steam ahead on the Lane train. It's chugga chugga, here we come. And if that falls through, I think the next time you really get a good information on who LSU is targeting will be the day that coach is announced. I think if this one does not happen, LSU will quiet down and LSU will make a hire and you'll find out about it, similar to how the BK thing was. It came out right at the tail end. Next thing you know, BK was hired. But I like LSU's shot to get Lane. This is a personal opinion. Look, this is just, I hear things. This is just my personal opinion. I like their shot to get Lane simply because of the fact that it does feel like Lane is leaving Ole Miss. He has had numerous times to say he's not, and he hasn't said it. He handled his teleconference in a way that was, I think we all felt was unique. I mean, everybody talks about like, well, he hadn't definitively said he's not leaving. He hadn't even really hinted at it. He's been like, I love Ole Miss. We're having a great season. It should be about the kids this year. He's yet to even like somewhat hint that like, I'm not leaving. He has not come out and been like, I'm going to be the coach at Ole Miss, which again, let's remember one thing about college football coaches and coaches in general. They lie all the time. They make up things. They lie all the time. There is numerous occasions where a college football coach has come out and said, I'm not leaving. Well, who was it back in the day? Tommy Tuberville. Only way I'm leaving is they take me out on a pine box, and he was gone 48 hours later. This stuff happens. They lie. You can't listen to what these guys say and take it. You got to take it with a grain of salt when it comes to these coaching searches, what's happening. But he has not definitively said he's not leaving. He has not said I'm staying. He has tiptoed around it and frankly been very awkward in it. I think he's been awkward because he doesn't know. One thing I don't believe is I personally don't think this is a troll job. I think once you tangibly get your family involved, tangibly, and I mean tangibly, they got on a private jet and went to Baton Rouge. They got on a private jet and went to Gainesville. I do not think this is a troll job. I personally think he does not know what he's doing. I think he's sitting there going, I'm not sure what to do. I am loved at Ole Miss. I am having success here. Florida and LSU are very tantalizing. I have people that I trust saying LSU is an important place. It's a great job. I also can look at LSU and see recent history of success, whether that be the 19 national championship, the 22 SEC West championship, the Heisman Trophy winners, things that, I think he sees that and goes, whew. I think he sees Florida and goes, what a brand. what athletes in that state similar. So, but I think he's sitting there going, I'm not sure, which is why, back to my original statement, I think this thing comes down to who can put it on paper the best. Here's the plan for the best roster you will have, not only in 2026, but 5 years down the road. And I think that's what makes his decision. And I don't think he's going to know the decision until the bell rings. And I guess when we talk about the bell ring, that makes everybody, well, what's the timing? What's the timing? Does this happen in the playoffs? Does this happen tonight? Does this happen tomorrow? I think you get some sort of information this week. I don't think Ole Miss wants it to get out this week, whether he's staying or leaving, but I think this thing has got a microscope on it. If he says he's leaving, I don't see how it doesn't get out. If he says he's staying, you got to think Ole Miss is going to make a spectacle of it and say our guy was never leaving all along. This was a whole ruse, but he's not leaving. But yada yada yada. Let's go beat the hell out of belt to ass on Mississippi State. So you got to think. I personally believe if you don't get information on Monday or Tuesday about him signing that extension, that probably leans today he's leaving. But I have no idea. They could just go, we're not saying anything until after the regular season's over. I do believe this. If he says he's leaving, he will coach the Egg Bowl. He will not coach the playoff if he says he's leaving. I believe that to be true. I believe that Ole Miss will say, we're not going to allow you to work for another school and recruit for another school inside of our building. And there's a lot of question marks on that. There's a lot of, you'd be a dumbass for leaving. You'd be an idiot for telling Lane he can't coach the playoffs. That's because you and I and everyone else in the country outside of Ole Miss people view Ole Miss as a job where you go, your window might be now. Your window might be Lane Kiffin. You don't really have success outside of him on a consistent basis. You've had blips where you've got a guy like Eli Manning popped up. You've had these Swag Kelly back. You've had these kind of blips, but you've never had where it looks like this program is going to pump out NFL guys and they are going to be a contender. They do not view it that way. They view themselves as a new age blue blood. You can listen to how they talk about it. We've got top 5 in wins since NIL's rolled out. We're going to make the playoff. They view themselves as a new age blue blood, so they do not view the window as Lane Kiffin is the window. They view it as we are a destination school. So if he says I'm going to LSU or I'm going to Florida, they will go get out of the building so we can hire the next guy that will keep us at the level we want. And I get that sounds crazy because we think of Ole Miss in a specific way. I'm telling you right now, they do not view themselves the way you and I view them. They think they are a new age blue blood. And the facts would actually kind of back, since NIL rolled out, they have been a really good program. They've been a top 5 SEC team, a top 20 team in the country reality. Since the NIL rolled out, they've been good at it. Lane's been really good at getting talent acquisition. They have not recruited high school terrific. They've been around 20 in the high school recruiting rankings, 20 to 15. They've been in that world, but they have brought in top tier talent through the portal, and they have competed. And I think one thing you're learning with Lane Kiffin is he's got an eye for talent. You went get Trinidad Chambliss, who's been damn good from a D2, who he found on Twitter or whatever. Yeah, he's been damn good. Lane's got a knack for that. Just remember that, when you think about how they're going to view this situation, remember, they view themselves as a new age blue blood. They do not view themselves how you and I view them, as it's Ole Miss, and they've been a perennial mid-tier to loser. So they better soak it in while they got it. That ain't how they looking at it. And look, I don't blame them. I wouldn't, if I was an Ole Miss fan, I wouldn't want them to look at it that way. I'd want to keep the pedal down. You're leaving us, get out the door, bring me another guy in. And look, if we get Ole Miss people getting here and hear this part, they're going to say, well, of course you'd say that. You just want Lane to start. No, that's how I would want it to be, right? You get that as LSU fans. Well, why does LSU fans think that it's playoff or bust? They've only made one playoff since this thing rolled out a decade ago. So I get it. That's how you want to look at it, especially if you feel like you have the resources, the facilities, you feel like you have everything. You feel like you should be a contender. They absolutely should feel that way. I don't know if I agree with them, but they should. It'd be a problem to me if they did. That would be concerning as an Ole Miss fan if my team was like, well, we'll just take a couple swings. That's how Mississippi State views themselves. That's how Arkansas views themselves. They've been better than those teams. They've been better than LSU. They've been better than Florida in this NIL age. I think the difference is LSU and Florida haven't been tapped, right? I think a can of beer is a lot better than an untapped keg. You're gonna get more beer. You're gonna get more out of an open beer than an unopened keg. I'm not saying that's how different they are, but that's my analogy. But if LSU has to go a different way, I like the Dillingham option. He is very young. He's brash, but he's going to coach his ass off, and he's going to work his ass off, and he's going to win press conferences, and he's going to kiss babies and shake hands and hugs mama. He's going to do all of that part. I also really like Eric Morris. I'm a big Eric Morris guy. Young cat, going to get after it. I'm just saying, don't sleep on this Eric Morris guy. But all in all, this thing's going to get painted, and I said this last week when we talked. If LSU doesn't get Kiffin, last week when I said if LSU doesn't get Kiffin or Nick Saban, the national media was going to smear egg all in LSU's face. I don't think that. That's what's going to happen. Now that's amplified. If Lane stays at Ole Miss or goes to Florida, you're going to have right in your face, egg all over you. That's how the media is going to portray you. I do not think that to be the case. I think LSU is making an offer that's as competitive as anybody in the country would make right now. That's including your Ohio States, your Texas, your Alabama, your Georgia. I think LSU is making an offer right now that is as competitive as anyone's ever made in the history of the sport. And currently in today's age, they would compete with anybody in this decision because they're making that competitive of an offer to him. But if he chooses to do something else, the national media is going to go, haha, look at you. Brian Kelly's got that. There's the lawsuit. You can't pay people. Jeff Landry sounds funny. All this nonsense. So just buckle up for that. Keep your fingers crossed that you get Lane, because I think Lane would be a out of the park hire. He's been my 1-1 since before Brian Kelly was fired. Before we played the Ole Miss game, I told my wife, I can't wait to beat Ole Miss and then take their coach next year. And I have no look. You can't prove I didn't say that. I did say it. I know people are like, yeah, I did say that. I also said, look, and I've been wrong. I also said before we played Florida, I can't wait to beat Florida and DJ Lagway is my quarterback next year. I don't think I want that to happen. I'm just saying, I say a lot of things before games, you know. I say a lot of things, and look, I'm going to take a victory lap. Have I been wrong in 10 of the games? No, but maybe 9. But I got that Lane Kiffin one right. About what I thought I wanted to be my next head coach. I got the dog over here going crazy. Knock that off over there. But we do have a football game this weekend against Western Kentucky. They are a very good offense. LSU, it's senior night. Will Nuss play? He's doubtful. I doubt it. I think all the stuff that he required surgery and all that was probably true. I think it's a great time for Michael Van Buren to get more run, maybe have some more success. Western Kentucky's going to throw the ball around the yard. You have a really good secondary. I personally think you have the best cornerback in America. I think Mansour Delane is the best cornerback in the country. I think he should win the Thorpe Award, the Ben Derrick Award. I think he's the best defensive player in the country. I definitely think he's the best cornerback in the country. I think you have success. You're going to get that talk about how's the team show up. I think LSU wins this game. I think this is more of, I'm excited to see what Van Buren looks like now that you got the W. You can take the, we're not fist fighting to get back on the win column. You're there already. Look, I've said a lot of things about Nuss. He's been really frustrating at times this year. I mean, it sucks that the last snap, he may ever play at LSU is one of the worst sacks we've ever seen. He was here for a long time. It went south this year. But ultimately, you hate to see a kid's career in college. I think he gets an NFL chance. I don't know where he gets drafted if he does, but I think he gets an NFL chance. You still hate to see a kid's college career kind of come to a abrupt ending that was unexpected and things kind of go south in the way they did. So I hope Nuss maybe can get a play in or two, maybe take a knee. I don't know what he's going to do. I would be okay with that. And I think if he does, he deserves applause and a standing ovation. Right? Again, he is a college kid. Right? I'm sure he's not enjoying the things that transpired this year, and I'm sure he's not enjoying dealing with this injury or whatever it may be. But ultimately, Michael Van Buren's going to play. Will Michael Van Buren be here next year? We don't know. That's going to be completely dependent upon who your next head coach is. If you get Lane, does Lane go get somebody in the portal? Does he bring, I think Chambliss has another year. Does he do that? Does he keep Mike Van Buren? If you get Dillingham, does he bring Sam Levitt with him? We don't know that. I think we would be doing ourselves an injustice to think about it through that lens. I think what we need to remember is you get a finite amount of these games in your life. Enjoy Saturday night as if it is a LSU Fighting Tiger football game, which it is. Enjoy it. If we win, enjoy the win. Smoke you some meat, cook you a jambalaya, whatever you got to do, enjoy the game. Have you a couple cold drinks, have you water, sweet tea, whatever you into, and enjoy the games. And for that few hours, remove yourself from the coaching search. Don't get on Tiger droppings. Don't go, just get off of it for a minute. Enjoy yourself. Because the only reason we care about all the coaching search is what happens on Saturday night. It's not what happens on Monday in a press conference. It's not what happens on Wednesday at the teleconference. It's not what happens on Thursday at the radio show. It's about what happens on Saturday night. So you have another opportunity to play a game on Saturday night. You have a chance to go to be 7-4 and position yourself to go with a big upset on the road the following week. Enjoy Saturday night. Remember, this is why we care about all of it, is the football on Saturday. Enjoy it, soak it in, and remember, whatever Lane does, you need to have solace in the fact LSU has put their best foot forward. LSU is committed to this. They are not half-assing their way at Lane. They are giving it everything they have, and if he makes a decision that is not LSU, it is not going to be a LSU did not have the money, the funding, or anything. It is going to be because Lane felt another place fit him better. LSU is going to go out swinging on this. Whether or not they land the knockout punch is TBD. We don't know, nor does your Uncle Jimmy, who dated a flight attendant in 1980, and that flight attendant had an affair with somebody who's a booster, and she heard through the grapevine and sent it to your cousin's mailbox. They don't know anything either. And again, find the people that you trust, that you think have good info. But remember, when you get the good info, that info can change. Things can change. Things can get to the finish line, and then people go, hold up, pump the brakes. They can change by the minute, by the hour, by the day. They are currently. Just remember, stay up to it, be like water, find your level, enjoy it, get involved in it, have fun. This is a really fun time. Now, look, I don't want to do this every 4 years, but hell, it's real fun when you're involved in it. I mean, this is more fun than we've had all year. Now, we did have the Brian Kelly experience, and it's been a blast, though, on social media and doing this kind of shit. Soak it in. Just remember, LSU is throwing their best punch at this. We don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen. I hope Lane Kiffin's the next head coach at LSU. I cannot guarantee that. You can't guarantee that. There's only one man on the planet that can guarantee what he's going to do next, and that's Lane Kiffin. And if he guaranteed you something tonight, he might change his mind tomorrow. But at the end of the day, it's his decision. Just be confident and happy that LSU is throwing the best punch they can, and they're throwing a punch that's equivalent to everybody's best punch. They are not swinging up. They are swinging from the top of the mountain when they come to this. When it comes to this situation, LSU is throwing out numbers. LSU is taking a shot at this as like the big boy that they are. This is not a hope and a prayer. They are throwing out legitimate punches at this. So have solace in that. Be excited about that, regardless what happens, because it means you're starting to get alignment, and the people with the money, the power to be with the money, are starting to get the idea of how you possibly can be successful in this new era of college football. And regardless who's the head coach, that's a W. That is a win for me, for you, for everybody who cares about LSU, and it's a L for everybody who doesn't like LSU. The reality is LSU seems like they're figuring it out, and did they get backed in the corner and they had to? Likely, but that's what you could take. That's what you could take from this whole situation. Now, again, let's hope Lane Kiffin's the next head coach. Remember, tell your grandma, tell your grandpa, tell your uncle, if he does become the head coach, they're not going to love his social media. It's cryptic, it's weird, but we can discuss that after the decisions are made. As always, I love y'all. Like and subscribe, man. Subscribe to the pod. We do a pod every Tuesday, Monday or Tuesday it comes out. I'm going to do this every Thursday. I think we're going to call it the Booda Cheese Show. We're still playing on some logo ideas. We're not 100% sure what that's going to look like. We threw an idea on Twitter. That's definitely not the final option. But for real, like and subscribe. Follow all of us on Twitter. We got Cole, we got Bo, we got Pete, we got myself. Follow us all on Twitter. Follow the pages on Twitter. And like this, drop some comments, and subscribe to the page, man. We appreciate you. I love y'all. I'll be back on next week. I don't know if it'll be Thursday because it is Thanksgiving. Enjoy that with y'all's family. But I will have an episode out next week. And I'll be active on Twitter. I love y'all. Go Tigers. And remember, it's all going to be all right. Go Tigers.
First 12 ounces. First 12 ounces, yeah. First 12 ounces. First 12 ounces, yeah. Y'all better listen up. This sports talking tough. So if you got a cup, go on and raise it up. I'll raise one with you as we talk about the sports. It's raining stats and rumors. Let us give you the report. This is First 12